to see friends and family on Park Street here. July, I'm just going to read my notes so I don't chase rabbits, because you know.
You're a rabbit chaser.
You got that. Last few rabbits. Summer, as a season, brings lots of things, including schedules that are often less rigid and predictable outside of the long-awaited vacation or visits from friends and family who have time, and also often weather, to offer space for recreation. For faith fellowship, summer offers similar moods and presence, especially the space for recreation. As many of us are often about on our vacations at this time of year, for some celebrating the 4th, getting ready to celebrate the 4th. I would probably not run a beach house at this time of year, but I know it's a wonderful tradition. Hope they don't get rained out, as we've been blessed by showers and blessings, right? But this summer, in the summers, I tend to take advantage of the fact that we have a scattered attendance. Not that post-COVID hasn't created that, but it's given me a sense of going, you know what? I'm going to preach and teach things that I'm interested in. It's a real selfish month for me, this month of July, especially because I selfishly said I do to Paul Titus at the end of this month. So it's a special month for us all. And over the past summers, I presented socio-theological theories of sorts. My undergrad and post-grad work, I did a lot of psychology and sociology, and I just find it blends perfectly with faith formation, which we've discussed here 1 July. We also, last year, if you remember, did a study of the Enneagram. Many of you participated in that. We even had an Enneagram couples workshop at the end of that time. This summer is no different, yet instead of leaning on my own niche or passions, I felt led to gain insight from those outside of our faith fellowship. That is, I wanted to reach beyond the anticipated framework of a church calendar of prescribed lectionary readings and local fellowship trends and into the community, asking others how they find inspiration and fulfillment, their sacred self, outside of the confines of temple walls and traditions. So here we are, gathered for the first speaker of our first speaker series, maybe the first of many, offered by a faith fellowship, which you know I've come to describe as a little church with big ideas and an even bigger heart. We are indeed an open and affirming community, striving to live together with open minds and arms, and also live authentically and express our faith authentically. When we say we are welcome to all, we mean all. We strive to put grace and embrace before just about anything, living as best we can by the golden rule. Do unto others through those challenging times and the best of times as you wish to have done to you, but through a more stringent Buddhist filter, believe it or not, you think of it this way: whatever is disagreeable to yourself, do not do unto others. I'm going to say that one more time. Whatever is disagreeable to yourself, do not do unto others. If you don't like being critiqued or dismissed or judged, try your best to put down your gavel, shed your super critique cape and attitude for a spell, and think, how would I receive what I'm getting ready to say? I've shared with the teachers during, and Maria, it's good to see you here. You know, with our preschool teachers, it's one of the 12-stepper go-tos, which is think before you speak, make sure that it's thoughtful, helpful, intelligent, necessary, and kind. And if what you're getting ready to say does not go through those 5 filters, maybe you better refine what you're going to say or how you say it correctly. We can learn from one another, you see, if we aren't afraid to share who we really are without feeling that we're going to be jumped on with, I can't believe that's what you believe, correct? In all of our varied walks of life, if we just open up our hearts and minds to the sacred self that each of us holds within. So I welcome you, fellow sojourners and guinea pigs, as we enter into a time of gathering, a shared experience of thoughts through some singing, for those who like that sort of thing, some sacred readings, symbolic breaking of bread, but central to our time, blessed by the stories of our featured guests with the hopes of inspiration and reminders that within each of us resides a sacred self. That this will require a spirit of vulnerability, and that is not easy unless we take a bit of time to center, Therefore, as we gather together, may we learn to recognize and affirm the pieces of possibility, the bits of that which brings each of us here. So I'd like to invite my sidekicks, my wings of inspiration, to join me as we teach you, and it's going to be an easy song. It's actually a round, and if someone in a booth can sing it, so can you. You have words in your order. There should be words on the screen. On the screen, and I'm going to let Donna take over instruction.
Okay. So originally we had talked about
breathe in.
All right. So the people that said they are not comfortable with singing,
You have to sing first.
that's your part.
Breathe in. Breathe.
Everybody can join in and kind of give them.
Breathe. And watch your little floating hands. It helps. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out.
Okay. Second part. If you do not have a high voice, you're going to sing with Elizabeth. So, and she's going to teach you the next part.
When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love.
Okay. The next part is for the slightly higher voices in that part, and then we'll demonstrate how they go together. When I breathe in peace. If just you and I do it, we'll be okay. When I breathe out love. Try that. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. Now we will show you how it goes, and then we will invite you.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out.
When I breathe out.
I think it's a little fast, right? When I breathe in, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's right.
So everybody just wait till we get it right, and then you can
We're learning it. See, now doesn't everybody feel more? We actually practice messing up. Breathe in. Ready?
Okay.
Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe out peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in,
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Oh, you all said my name, so I don't need to introduce myself. I am Carrie, though. That's me. Today I'm Carrie Ship. Sometimes I'm always Carrie Meffel. Sometimes I'm also Carrie Ship. I'm a flutist. You'll get to see that in a minute. But more importantly today, I am a colleague of our guest. And even more importantly than that, we're best friends. And we have been for over a decade. 15? Excuse me, I have to have a crisis now. I am delighted to bring her to you today and to start us off with some sacred reading. So if you would put yourself in the mind to receive some words and let them mean to you whatever they mean to you. A reflection on calling from Dr. Shefali Saberi. Whether we like to recognize it or not, even the most unconscious person, against their greatest will, is on a process to evolve. Life gives us opportunity after opportunity to ask, is this my truest self? Or am I living the inauthentic self? Becoming conscious means to recognize when that moment arrives. And it's coming, and it's coming, and it's coming. Now, a bit of Hebrew scripture, Psalm 93, but interpreted by Stephen Mitchell. The Holy acts within every moment and creates the world with each breath. The Holy speaks from the center of the universe in the silence beyond all thought. Mightier than the crash of a thunderstorm, mightier than the roar of the sea, is the Spirit's voice, silently speaking in the depths of the listening heart. Now, a sacred reading from our selected by our guest today, Parker J. Palmer of The Courage to Teach, in which he says, fear is everywhere, and it cuts us off from everything. Fear is so fundamental to the human condition that all the greatest spiritual traditions originate in an effort to overcome its effects on our lives. Be not afraid does not say that we should not have fears, and if it did, we could dismiss it as an impossible counsel of perfection. Instead, it says that we do not need to be our fears. Quite a different proposition. No matter where we are or what condition we are in or how many obstacles are before us, we can always come back home through a simple inward turning. In this home, we know ourselves not as isolated atoms threatened by otherness, but as integral parts of the great web of life, and that knowing we are taking beyond fear towards wholeness. Let's welcome Juliana.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to give us an opportunity to arrive together in this space and kind of notice what is with us, and especially notice how all that we've heard already this morning, how that lands in our body, how that feels in our system. So I'd love you to just take a notice of yourself in this space and how you receive support. I'd like to think of support as what we are touching. So can we notice our support and notice what is in this space and notice what we are experiencing, but without judgment? Just be aware of what is. So some things to reflect on perhaps is, how do I notice my footprint on the floor? How am I experiencing the chair underneath me? Am I sitting in or on the chair? Or is the chair supporting me from underneath? What do I notice about the speed of my thoughts? What do we notice about the speed of our breathing? As we breathe, can we notice what moves inside us? Let's remember that we have a top side and a bottom side, a left side, a right side, a front side, a back side, an inside and an outside. And all of those sides together make up our wholeness. All of those sides, plus our thoughts, are part of what make us whole. And I'm wondering if we can just tune in to those different sides throughout the time together that Carrie and I will have, to see how noticing your wholeness allows you to listen and receive what is important. I'm very grateful to be here today, to have the opportunity to think about these topics and to be a part of history of this speaker series. And so I'm keeping gratitude with me and noticing my wholeness as I join the wholeness of my friend.
I wish I could always prepare people to meet me like that. I can arrange that.
Yeah. Okay, that's our next
A pre-recorded message.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay. So, who are you, and how did you get here today?
Well, it all started with my parents. No, I'm just kidding. Who am I? My name is Juliana Marin, and I am a person of many trades, but I'm a freelance singer and music administrator and teacher in the Baltimore area. I grew up singing, grew up in choirs. I always like to say that my dad will claim that I started singing in the crib, and I just think that's so cute. And so just music was always a part of my life through old records being played and listening everything from the Beatles to Beethoven. And I think that singing was really special to me because I grew up with this identity as being a pretty lonely kid. And singing became the way that I got attention from people. And singing became the way that people would notice me, and it made me feel special. And I realized that I had an impact on people through music. And so when I kind of realized what was happening, and that was going to be the way that I was going to be perceived as special and unique, and also knowing that I had this gift that, well, I knew that I had a gift that was special, but the loneliness and the isolation made me turn against the gift, especially when I went to college. And then all of a sudden, I had to have good grades for that gift. And I had to be the best at that gift. And there have definitely been many points in my life where that gift, which brought me connection, which just allowed me to be seen in this really special way, that gift kind of became a curse at some point. And that was really hard to notice.
How did you, do you still, spoiler alert, I know she doesn't still feel cursed by that. So how did you, what shifted that view of your gift?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. I think that maybe tangentially or like somewhat related, is that after school, which it's really a shame and it's really challenging when you go to higher education for your gifts. And I think also in the music industry, and maybe, I don't know if it's unique to the classical music industry, but it's just the whole best of the best mindset is it's really challenging. And it's something that I'm on a mission to support also, by the way. But to have graduated and be in a lot of debt, and I remember Carrie remember, I got a retail job, like right out of graduate, like a master's degree, and I got this retail job, and I loved it. I love customer support and all of that stuff.
but it was really disheartening. And then I was thinking, okay, sure, I have this degree, but I'm not the best of the best. That's not possible. So I limited myself from reaching out. And these are my thoughts driving my actions, okay? I was limiting my potential. And I'm very thankful that I like teaching, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit, but I got lost in my daytime job, and I got lost in my teaching job. And I was not living my authentic self, and I was totally hiding and keeping myself small and just trying to get through life. And I was able to get just enough courage to audition to be a part of a choir in the Baltimore area, a recently Emmy Award-winning choir, by the way, which is really cool. I'm happy to talk about that. But I was miserable. I wanted that job to be a section leader in this choir for over 10 years. And I finally got that job. And it was miserable because my thoughts were guiding my beliefs about myself, and so the rehearsal process was just really hard for me. And so I had lost my joy. I had lost my joy, I had lost my spark, I was realizing that I was really miserable, and one day I saw an advertisement for a singer's retreat, and it called to me. It was like, have you lost your joy in singing? Would you like to reclaim your creative spirit? And I was like, yes! Because of course I was like crying on my couch in Baltimore. I was like, yes, I want to have my spirit again! And all of a sudden I was in my Baltimore apartment. I left my Baltimore apartment. All of a sudden I found myself along the shores of Lake Michigan in this beautiful retreat center studying something called the Alexander Technique. The Alexander Technique. It's really tricky because it's a niche way of study. It's not a very well-known thing. You will probably know it if you've studied acting. You might know it if you study music. And you might know it if you've lived a life of chronic pain and you are at your wit's end. You've done physical therapy, you've done all the things, and then maybe, if you're lucky, maybe that day is today, you hear about the Alexander Technique, which is a way of understanding how our thinking impacts literally how we move our bodies through everyday life. Part of that is a little bit of the awareness I invited you all in today, which, by the way, let's check in with that. Do you remember that there is space behind you and above you? Are you aware of how you are receiving support from the ground, from the earth? And I went to this retreat for my music. It's like music. I feel like my path in life has been music, to pursue creative things. But now I'm realizing, I want to show gratitude for this opportunity today, because it has only been in considering my path, considering what is sacred, it has only been preparing for today that I realized that this life's path is also finding this Alexander Technique. I really had to face the fact that through all of these gifts and all of these opportunities I've had, I have lived my life pretending that I do not have a body. I have lived my life pretending I'm just this little floating head in space, and that please nobody perceive me, please nobody see this body that I carry a lot of shame in. And so I was able to realize that I could not disconnect myself, that is impossible. We are always connected. Our wholeness is truth. And all I had to do was tune into the fact that yes, you do have a body. You are a complete whole person. And that has been the key to increasing my confidence in my singing, increasing my confidence in teaching, and bringing me this conviction to bring this information to other people. Because when we learn just a little bit more about how our body works, we update the
mental maps of our body, and when we understand how our thoughts affect the way we move better. We move with more confidence, we move with more ease and freedom, and so much more. And it's a little bit ineffable, but to be given the opportunity to realize that I am whole, and I have to acknowledge that and accept that and embody that. And the only way I can pass that on to people in my life is if I do that first. It's this whole, I have to take care of myself first. I have to embody this work first. I have to acknowledge this connection that cannot be severed first. Otherwise, I won't be able to communicate this work as effectively. So.
Thank you. There were so many excellent nuggets there. And there are a lot of avenues that I could take, but let me think for a second. Let me just look.
We're inviting calls.
Sacredness. That was a joke. I didn't need to look at the paper.
Oh.
For effect. Okay. So there, so many people in so many walks of life could have received so much wisdom and truth from that. But let's zoom in, if you will, on what makes all of that a sacred experience for you. And I would ask you first to share, if you were given the daunting, possibly impossible, beautifully impossible task of defining sacred, what would you say? What is sacredness to you?
Beautifully impossible task. I appreciate that. I bristled at thinking of the word sacred. And I bristled at thinking of like, why is my definition of sacred important? Who cares? Like it was fascinating how resistant I was to like considering this. That lonely little kid who thinks that she doesn't have anything important to contribute to this world is like, who am I to talk about what sacredness is? So I've had to substitute. It was really helpful. Carrie asked me to like substitute the word sacred for what I think it is. So for me, sacredness is connection. Connecting with myself. Connecting with other people. And I have been able to find connection through music. I've been able to find, and those musical opportunities are not only connecting with, well, it's connecting with texts, poetry, the reasons why the composers wrote the music in the first place, like what were they connected to that brought forth all of this creative work, but also the connection of collaboration. I've been able to do really cool musical projects, to do a beautiful ensemble work, to be a part of a 120-person choir, creating music that was written just for my choir, that was written for Baltimore, connecting to a city, to a community, and connection to my students. And I think it, especially the like teacher-student, mentor-mentee, big buddy, little buddy type of relationship, I valued that ever since I was a little kid. Like I loved being the fifth grader who was a good reader, and I got to go help the second graders read. Like I remember being that little and enjoying that. And then running a teaching studio, I've had a variety of number of students. I've literally taught students of all ages, piano, voice, now Alexander work, and connecting with people on this one-on-one level, knowing that they're going to take with them what is useful for them, and knowing that there might be that little memory of that moment that it is a little bit of, yay, I helped them, but it's really that moment of, wow, this person made me feel special. This person made me feel less alone. This person, we just had a blast making music together. And we don't always get the opportunity to do that. Now, not everybody might value that. But how cool is it that we get to have these little moments of joy and connection and something that might stay with you for years? I remember, and I think teaching is also so important to me. So if music allowed me to be seen in a certain way, I had a handful of teachers who also were able to see me in a certain way. 2 of them were gym teachers who didn't give up on me.
It's hard when you don't have a body.
I know. I know. Wait. Are you sure this is the 6th grade body that can do the fun run, Mr. Yor? I don't know if I can do that. But I did it. He ran alongside me. It was this miles run, cross-country run that we had to do. And the thing was, is I was a little kid who, I wanted to be good at the athletic stuff. I still do. I want to be good at, bowling and frisbee. I want to be good at frisbee. Right? Yeah, right? Okay. Anyway, so but it's Mr. Yor that helped me continue to want to be good at this stuff because it was the last little stretch. I was struggling, but I didn't want to be struggling. I wasn't giving up. And he ran that last quarter mile with me.
Mr. Yor is going to get his brownie points because of this.
And sorry, no, but I'm just thinking about that. The way that I also look at teaching is that I do not have all the answers. I do not expect the student to be ready to receive all of this information from me on high. That is actually really, I feel like it's the standard education model, but it's really icky to me. So I like being with somebody as they are discovering the truth about themselves. I like to be alongside somebody as together we are exploring something that might bring them more information to allow them to move through life. And it's I feel that I get to be Mr. Yor, running alongside my students instead of in front of them, the expert telling them what to do. And that feels really, really exciting to realize that now with you all, so thank you.
No one asked me what I think the sacred is, but that has not once stopped me from telling what I think. So in our wrap up of this portion of our conversation, I want to point out the connecting threads that I see. Okay, so I believe that the sacred is everywhere, and therefore I would challenge all of you who are able to come or watch all of the speaker series. I think you should get one of these cute little things and put a word, right? See if you can find everyone's word. So for music, it's connection, okay. So when you talk about connection, you started by saying I felt disconnected, and there was a huge implication that there is something deeply disturbing about that. The feeling of disconnection did not feel right to you. And then you found something that made you feel that connection, have a sense of the connection. And then the urge to share it, which is inherently connecting as well, right? And then things happened and you felt disconnected from the connection. That was your experience. And then you found something that brought you back. And what it was a somatic connection among, around, every, whatever kind of grammar that is, I don't know, preposition, great, is that, right, of all the things. And so in exploring, number one, admitting that you do in fact have a body, whoa, I could have told you. You didn't ask though. So, there was this relationship that you had been ignoring, that you had denied nurturing connection with. And by taking that step, by not being afraid, even if you weren't consciously doing that, you took that step and it freed you to enter this space that maybe had actually always been there. Yeah? and then you saw that whatever else you wanted to do, however else you wanted to connect with other people, maintaining your awareness of that connection that is always existing in, around, above, beyond, inside yourself was the only way to do that authentically. Does that pass the vibe check?
That's it. Have a good night, folks. No, that's it's an incredibly beautiful and insightful summary, as only you can do, in my opinion.
Yours is the only one that matters. So thank you.
No, absolutely. And if anything, language is not perfect, right? And so connect is there's a paradox in this word, because it's not something we do, it's like something that is. Like the connection just is. And I especially appreciate what you said about the space that's always there. We are just getting access to the space that is always there, that is inherently there. That's another one of these definitions of the Alexander technique that Carrie seems to have because of her unique understanding of the world, which I so appreciate, but it's a perfect definition. Because when we talk about understanding our bodies, one of the tenets is this idea that there's something special between the relationship of our head and our spine. Everyday life allows us to compress that because of society, because of our needs in work and all of this stuff, and because of our thoughts. What do we do when we don't feel confident? Compress. So all AT is,
thank you. We're slightly beyond out of time for this part of the service. Oops, should have warned them. We're gonna move into, Colena's gonna take us into our next section, but I don't know if it's my job to explain this to you, but I'm gonna do it anyway. There are some cards on your table. So if you have any questions that you have for Juliana, you can write them down and put them in the offering plate, and we will be back to answer a few of them, depending on how much time we have when that comes around. So we'll be back. Thank you so much.
So we're coming to the portion in our typical setting, we have prayers for the people, and over the next several weeks, this is going to be a similar prayer so that hopefully it connects with you when you come back, and when you hear it, it'll mean more to you over the weeks. So let us bow our heads in prayer and thought to ask what's possible by Reverend Sarah Lawal. Inspiration of life and love, holy mystery. May we hear the voice calling within us to ask what's possible, to walk to the edge, to shed the fear and need for control, and dance with the infinite for a while. May we set down the list of wrongs and hurts and see obstacles as invitations for innovation, beckoning our creativity. May we hear each other's voices of love and encouragement. May we hear the cries of the world asking us, who do we choose to be? May we be vessels of comfort and compassion. May we be vessels of peace and justice. May love prevail. And in these next silent moments, may we lift up all of our hopes and burdens, open to receive the peace that passes all understanding. In the spirit and name of the Holy One to whom we pray. Amen. I now invite Joy.
gifted to us today by all gathered in this space, but especially by Juliana, who, if we haven't gathered, is a woman moved by her gifts and passions. And immediately today, following worship, she is off to share a few one-on-one sessions to teach those interested in learning more about the Alexander technique. So please see her immediately after worship to further inquire about this possibility. But we also want to give you all the opportunity to ask those few questions. And this will be done by way of writing those questions on the little pieces of paper. Each of you should have been given a question form which will be collected along with our offering as we complete our time of breaking bread. And with that, will you join me in a moment of reflection? And so writes Paul Loeb, even in the seemingly futile moment of losing cause, one person may unknowingly inspire another, and that person yet a third who could go on to change the world, or at least a small corner of it. Mandela called this process the multiplication of courage. May we remember this when offer not only our tithes, but time to help recreate in a need of recreation and recreation. With that, let us be inspired, if not recreated, by the gift of music that we are about to hear.
Thank you for inviting us to play for you.
When Carrie was in Baltimore, she came to play at my church a lot. And that was always a joy to have her with us. And this is a song, Be Not Afraid, that one day I was singing it in the middle. And in the middle of it, I started crying because I finally realized what I was singing about. And it's a very clear moment in my mind of being connected to what I was doing, being connected to these words, realizing the power of these words that I feel are amplified through music. If it's without it, it doesn't quite hit the same. So, thank you for allowing us to share this piece that has great meaning for me. Be not afraid, for I have redeemed you. Be not afraid, I have called you by name. When you pass through waters, I will be with you. When you pass through the floods, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through fire, you will not be consumed. You are my
Thanks, Carrie. You're never invited to play here again. If any of you were here on Ash Wednesday, she had promised she was going to do a special piece, musical piece, and she said, but I don't want you to know what it is. It's a surprise for you. And so she performed the song. I'm gonna cry just talking about, and I didn't know what it was. Everybody else had the words. Most of them didn't know because it was a show tune, right? And I just blubbered and messed up completely for the rest of the night, and including everything I was supposed to do. Like, where am I? I totally disconnected. The head was a floating head at that point. Or I totally took it too far. There's always space. Right? It's like a little. So I'm so glad you do word study. So the Latin word for those of you who have been here before, hi. We know the Latin word pan or pane means bread. So when you see panera, it's kind of redundant, isn't it? Bread. Bready bread. Maybe that's what it is. Bready bread. Interestingly, though, when paired with the prefix "com," the word companion is created, literally meaning breaking bread together. Companion points beyond itself to indicate kinds of relationships eating together produces. Strangers and acquaintances can become companions through eating together. Families flourish as they sit face to face. How few do this any longer, sitting face to face. And on his last day as a free civilian, so to speak, was spent with his closest friends around a table where he reframed a sacred banquet of his ancestors, and that's a Passover meal. Come together and remember. Come together and remember. A table that welcomed all, in spite of their differing opinions, finding unity without uniformity, honoring the heart of the most ancient and universal teachings to this day, and that is agape, eternal and ever-present love. In the inspired book of Matthew, it is written, Jesus said, whoever welcomes you welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. So I invite those table hosts to join me as they break bread and wine and are going to prepare this to share. For those of you seated in traditional seating, where you might have bread envy, I ask that you release that. You will be served at your seat when it comes that time. It is said that on the night in which he was denied and betrayed by those closest to him, Jesus broke bread. You can break bread at your table. Thank you. Broke bread as his ancestors, and saying possibly, Baruch Adonai, Spirit of the universe, we give you thanks for your care as we take this bread. Let us always remember the gift of sacrificial love. And then in the same way, took the fruit of the vine and blessed it, saying, Baruch Adonai, Spirit of the universe, as we take this cup, let us remember your love eternal. I'm going to ask now that during a time of music that's going to be played, that Carrie and Joy will receive the elements and get the elements from the back and serve those in traditional seating. And I ask you at this time to share this time of companionship with those you are seated with at your table, remembering the spirit and the sacredness of being together. Let me remind you, I guess I did put that in the order. Yes, it is in the order. It's gluten-free. It's egg-free bread. And it is alcohol-free juice. Do you have some music? You can take your time while you dine. anybody rushing to head to the volume down just as I understand. To the door, we really do. We have a couple of questions that have come from you all for Juliana, and I really want to have that opportunity to have those questions answered before we close our time together. I'm going to go ahead and then hop to the thanks, and then you can help teach us the closing song that we'll be singing. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to say thank you now, and for those of you who've gotten used to the 45 to 50 minute worship experience, I have to say that I didn't have my eye on the clock today, which I always do, and I think that has a great deal to do with the gift of what you have to say and the questions you ask. And I want to say thank you so much for being here, sharing your whole self in so many ways. And if you would join me in thanking Juliana and also Terry for being here. So I'll invite them back up to answer a couple of questions, then we will move into our closing choral benediction, which we're going to learn. And since you're all going to be back next week, well, we don't get to do it again. So we'll be learning another song, and not any more difficult than the first one, and not sunning around. So how's that? So welcome back.
Okay, I also want to know the answer to this question. I did not plant it, okay? Why does the word sacred make you bristle? Call it out.
You know, you're not supposed to define define a word with the word, you know. But the word sacred is a big word. There's a heaviness. Yeah, like even, okay, so just to describe what I'm noticing in myself, there's a heaviness. There's something that kind of restricts my breath. There's something that is reverent. There's something that's holy about it. There's something about, see, I'm getting coffee. There's something about the word knowing that things have a special meaning to other people, and not quite knowing what that is, like only assuming, but not quite knowing. So when I hear that word, I feel like that's not something I can be a part of. That's me disconnecting myself. Sacredness is like, I'm not sacred. I am not holy enough. I don't deserve reverence. I don't deserve space. I don't deserve wholeness. Which is so, you know, especially as I say that out loud, I see how sad that is. I see how sad that is. That is a practice, habitual way of my own thinking in believing that I don't belong.
So like,
but it's exciting to know that, I know that that's not real, but how I practice that in my everyday life, like that's the question. How do we wake up each day knowing that that lie might come up, because it can, but knowing that it is a lie, acknowledging our own connection, and just move through. So, yeah, it's like, I don't have the authority to speak about what's sacred. There's no possible way I could be sacred. But I am, okay? And that means that every single one of us is as well.
That's right.
So you told me this morning that like connection is like a circle that is always there, and we can choose to be inside the circle or not. And I feel like big questions like what is sacred is an opportunity to, or it's a vulnerable thing, right? And it takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable. And so when we have those moments, like it would feel like a relief to step outside the circle at that time. But the circle is actually a safe and, dare I say, inevitable place to reside for questions like that.
Yeah, whether you realize it or not, the circle, it's like maybe you see the circle from here, but it's actually out there. You're already inside the circle.
Yeah. Okay, thank you to that question, asker. Question number 2. Are there times when you find yourself backsliding?
Ooh. Tell me more about backsliding. Is it the short answer to this is yes, 100%. But just in case there's more to insinuate there, I'm happy to. Maybe that person wants to talk to me more afterwards. But backsliding into not believing I'm connected. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Multiple times per day, multiple times per moment, and I'm okay with that. Like there was a part of me a few years ago, I would have been really angry about that. Why do I always treat myself like this? Why am I so mean to myself? Why do I talk myself out of opportunities? Why? The really tough one for me, especially because I value relationships, is why do I believe that this person secretly doesn't like me? All the time. People I deeply care about, I think, have secret vendettas against me. And it's like, okay, first of all, I'm not the center of their universe. Okay? And it doesn't, it's not a nice way to hold those people. It's like I'm turning them into people they're not. The people in my life are trustworthy, period. And any other voice that goes against that. So that's hard for me, that kind of backsliding and thinking I do. And yeah, I mean, this is a journey. I have to acknowledge that this is the body that I have, and this is the body that I know how to use better, and this is the only body that I'm gonna get. And so when I backslide, when I start to realize that, I don't want that to be, or I want to be, looks like something else or have something else, that's hard. That pops up a lot. But I just return to my wholeness and return to my understanding of my design, and that no matter what size we are, we have similar design features. And those design features have space in them, and we can access that space no matter what we believe, no matter what injuries we've had, no matter what sizes we've had, no matter what we believe about ourselves. Those design features are true. And so when we know about that, that helps. Sorry that was a little convoluted, but yeah, I backslide a lot.
Okay, there's one more question. I got to pick them up, so I know who submitted this, and I'm going to give you this paper and let you go talk to them, because it's like a really good question. However, a big old can of worms. So
Sure.
given that we're so I'm not ignoring your question, person that I cherish. I'm just trying to be, the liturgist of everyone's dreams. As a quick wrap up, can you tell like a 1-minute story of a time that you were working with someone on Alexander Technique, and it was like a light bulb moment for you or them or both of you or whatever, just like a shining moment of connection through Alexander Technique?
I love this question. I do, and I maybe hold me to writing about this. I cannot think of a big one at this moment, but I want to speak to this. This will be important for me to speak to. I had a student who was really stuck in comparing herself to others in a dance class. And she really came to me disheartened and was just wishing that she could move more gracefully, was wishing that she could have whatever we think of when we think of ballerinas, because she felt very angular and very... And we realized that because she labeled herself as moving angularly, that was her truth. Like, that was a limiting belief that she had. So it was like, let's just acknowledge that we have this belief and put that on the shelf for a second and do some movements. And we brought, it was attention to head spine and realizing that there was some compression there that she didn't know was there. And it was like a natural feeling of confidence that she had just because she brought attention to a part of her body that hadn't been in her awareness before. And then she just went for a little walk around the room, and it was very emotional for her because she didn't realize that that grace was within her just through tuning in to herself. That's definitely a nutshell answer, and there's a lot of nuance in there, but it's really exciting to see the transformation in people and watching them leave the room with a different sense of themselves and a little bit of grace. And she found that all herself. So, yeah, but I love this. I want to talk more about that.
Okay, I would and have talked to you for hours and hours at a time, multiple times a week. However, would you please do us the honor of teaching us all this song filled with loving kindness? Yeah, I love that it says Carrie Andrew. What am I supposed to do? How am I part of this?
Hey, we can, yeah, okay, call and response. This idea that I will sing a phrase at a time. Okay, there's the words of it. Giving myself a little pitch. Okay. Okay, so repeat after me, and let's tune in to our whole selves. What do we notice about the space around us? May I be filled with loving kindness. 1, 2, and may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. 1, 2, and may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. 1 and 2, and may I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May I be whole. One more time, do the best you can with your whole self. Let's try it from the beginning. 1 and 2, and may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well.
I'm gonna be tacky and offer a suggestion in front of everyone. When I spent 3 summers in my senior year of high school at Interlochen Arts Academy, and there's a tradition at Interlochen where at the end of every concert that you clap after the last piece, and then there is a piece of music that is played, and it is silent after that. I'm verklempt thinking about it, because it's a really emotional way to end. So I think for the rest of the theater series, we should end, like, you know, have this ending, but I would offer, like, that felt like, I was like, I don't know, whatever there is to say, it was just said in that amazing song. So thank you. That was because of the connection among us while we did that. But I will read it today. Okay. We have reached the end of our time, of this time, for letting imagination and inspiration play with present and future possibilities. Shall it be concluded then? Or will this adventure now commenced to catch a glimpse of our sacred self continue? On your hearts lies the answer. Let us go now with invigorated peace within and with